Hey there, I'm Lee Rowley, and this is Lee After Dark. Why? Because there's more to being a business leader than just business. Each week, one brave entrepreneur ejects the elevator pitch and tells us about, well, whatever they want to talk about. Today, I have with me Fredrik. Can you help me with the pronunciation? I hate to butcher people's last names.
That's fine. Sandvall, Swedish.
Sandvall.
Yep.
Sandvall, okay. Okay, so Fredrik, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks. Yourself, Lee?
I am fantastic. I'm fantastic,
Awesome.
and I'm looking forward to our conversation. Now, Fredrik, the rules are simple. For the next 20 minutes, we can discuss anything you want except your business. If you're successful, you'll have 5 minutes at the afterward to pitch your head off. But each time you slip up and mention your business during the main interview, you'll lose 1 minute of pitch time at the end. So,
cool.
Yeah, I'm real mean and about things like that, right? So
I flipped the table. You just need to ask me really great questions, not trigger me.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and hit the timer earlier and go. What are we getting into for the next 20 minutes?
Right. Traveling.
Traveling, okay.
Love traveling. Yourself?
Absolutely. Have not been to Europe too much. You mentioned maybe a little secret hideaway in Sweden.
That's right. I'm actually here
today.
Tell
me about that. Okay. Oh, you're in Sweden now?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Very cool.
Right. So
tell me about Sweden.
Yeah, Sweden. I was actually born here a number of years ago and brought up very much in the countryside. Loved that so much. So when it came to having a second home, we found our way back to the countryside again. So I got my family in a place in rural part of Sweden while I was still hang around in London for half of my time.
Oh, okay. Is that a dramatic difference? Then I mean, it seems like it would be night and day.
It is
with the London. I mean, I can imagine that just being a nonstop energy as any of those big historical European cities are.
Yeah. No, I got my wife is in London at the moment for holiday, and she just wrote people, houses. While this is the opposite. It's like one house and a lake just outside the door and some forest instead. Very different.
Beautiful. So how do you manage that in terms of because it almost seems like you're living in two places.
I do. It's very much like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and today I am the dad at home Hyde. So I'm hiding out from what we shouldn't speak about on this podcast by chilling with my kids. They've got half term, and it's amazing to be able to just take that off without hesitation, to be here and also allow my wife to get some time away from home and shores as well, just to have her to take a holiday. So yeah, nice one.
Very good. So where are some of your favorite travel spots then?
I like warmer than here. So right now we're pretty much at the freezing point some of the nights, and it has very much turned around the weather. And I'm expecting to possibly see some snow some of the next few nights. So from that, I rather enjoy the hotter weather. I like travel to Asia. I like to go where it's warmer generally, but also enjoy traveling to cold weather like skiing as well. So I like lots of sports, like mountain biking, skiing, extreme diving, and whatever I come up with.
Very nice. Yeah, that caught me off guard for a second. I'm like somebody who is born in Sweden saying, I like to go where it's cold. And I'm like, what's cold what's cold to you, sir? Because it gets below about the 70 degrees. So it'd be 25, something like that. But beyond that, I've got a sweater on, man.
I'm with you.
So I can understand you going to warmer places. And what about Asia trips? You said that was one of your favorites.
I was just over in China and Sydney just the other week, and I did squeeze in some time for myself as well, including going to a really nice natural park in Australia. It's so different, and there it's spring at the moment, not late autumn. So you can imagine the difference.
Wow, walking into that and essentially like having a second spring.
Yes.
For a little bit anyway. So that has been
Yeah.
such a fantastic experience. So, and that's a whole family thing.
No. It was just myself on a very short notice who disappeared, and I was able to combine what we shouldn't speak about with some casual time as well. So, Lee, where are you today?
Where am I? I am in Columbus, Ohio.
I thought so. Perfect. That's great.
Yeah. No place interesting. It's here.
No, I like America because it's the land of. For example, let's take the podcast. To be on an American podcast is usually a lot more open-minded. It's higher to the ceiling, and also there's more energy. Don't ask me why, but I love to be on American shows.
That's fantastic. Yes. Is there, would you say that the Sweden, as a result, would be like a little more reserved, or is that? I don't know if that's quite the right word.
Sweden is very much outspoken. Tell it like it is.
Okay.
Not sugarcoating things.
Okay.
While in the UK, England, it's very much the opposite of where people do sugarcoat it. And if you're not aware of the culture, you won't even notice that. So you can actually have a fantastic evening with some people, and you might think that they love me, but then like sharp elbow from my wife. No, they didn't. Did you pick up the signals? Like, no, I just enjoy myself. So yeah, the cultural subtleties are very different. And I mean, same when I was just in China the other day. Same thing there. It's hard to read completely different other cultures if you haven't been there a few times.
Okay. What have you found? Are there particular ways that you found of handling that?
Yeah, be curious, be open-minded.
Okay.
Don't try to think that everyone is like you. Put yourself in their shoes. And that, of course, applies to any kind of communication. Try to be picking up some of the words, at least, from the local language. So I have been going to the extreme where I've even followed living in a Muslim country, following twice the full Ramadan, so not eating daytime for like a month. And that's a big thing if you have never done it before, just out of respect for the local culture.
Wow. Okay. What was that experience like?
I'm not a Muslim, but I've tried to understand the culture.
Well, that's commendable. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was great because unlike so many other people who were there, Westerners, they cannot see why I would even bother to do that, while I got massive respect from the local guys in many aspects, which goes for the rest of the year. Okay.
That's really, really interesting. I think that some people in America would secretly feel like they were intruding. Does that make sense? Yeah. They may outwardly say they don't have any interest, but I think that there's like this almost, like it's someplace that we're not supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean, and yes, I do agree with what you mean. So it's very much I've been not working but living with alongside, well, maybe working as well alongside some Americans in various parts of the world. It's almost like taking a small little America and setting up the boundaries around it, but that's been quite hostile and dangerous places. So that's why it's been quite extreme. Almost like also in the diplomatic community, very similar setup as well. While you hang around with people that are alike in culture potentially, in terms of food and habits. I'm more open-minded, so I like that aspect of things, but also like the unknown. I like to explore and figure out other sides of things as well. So yeah, jumping the fence and checking things out is unfortunately on my interest and agenda quite often.
It would definitely take a lot of curiosity, and I can definitely appreciate that curiosity to put yourself in that position.
Yes, you're right.
Yet, is that something that's been in you since you were a little one, or is that something that you've cultivated?
I would say both, probably. I've always been curious and like to check things out and so on. So I've been trying pretty much everything except the usual drugs, which I haven't. So I'm a virgin. But yeah, more than that, and let's explore and see what it's like. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So within, without things that are not going to bring harm and, and all that, it's going to be curious about other humans because, I think it just, and it's always been this way, but, it seems like recently to us, because we're just seeing a wave of it is, at least in the States, that there's a lot more hostility and less tolerance. As much as we try to pretend like that's not going on anymore and we've gotten past all that, it's we're not at all. So I don't know what your experience has been in either of your homes.
I would say the integration that you might wish for is quite absent. It's, even if it seems to be like a multicultural place, like London is just like New York, so many cultures, but at the same time, people are segregating, even if you're like in a melt pot of people and cultures and so on. And then luckily food is one thing that unites across the boundaries. So you might check out that Indian dish or whatever, even if you don't live in the Indian community. But we're getting there slow and steady while the big cities are growing.
Absolutely. And they evolve and mature. Even what I want to say, I keep saying old cities, because, here, a lot of our cities have been around for 150 years.
Yes.
Whereas so to be 400 or 500 years, I keep saying old, and to you, they're just cities, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, the house where I'm sitting right now is born 1792. And at the time, the States didn't even exist. So that's like put stuff in perspective for sure.
Exactly. I think we would have torn it down and rebuilt it 3 or 4 times by then.
Yeah.
And it always fascinates me. Have you ever been out to Las Vegas?
I haven't been to Vegas. I've been multiple places in the States.
Okay.
What were you thinking about? Curious?
Well, it's this Vegas is this place where, if the building's around 40 years, it's old. And it's like, I see history disappearing almost as fast as it's being, recreated. And, I have to wonder if that's like all we're all headed here, in the States. It's just, we constantly seem to be like, nothing that isn't new is worth anything.
Yeah.
And
it's also tricky with the different aspects of the generation. So right now, if you take, for example, Generation Z, I've got a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Okay.
And if it wouldn't be for my wife, they would very much lose out of a lot of history and culture, so to speak. Because if they can shoot themselves, they spend a lot of time on their mobile phones, even if I'm trying to get them to become entrepreneurs, slow and steady. You mentioned the information that you sent me, and thank you for that. Before we started recording, you had some thoughts on the next generation of entrepreneurs. So hopefully that's a perfect segue into that part of it. Yeah, absolutely. So one thing we've done for a few is to figure out the next generation, what is relevant for them or not, trying to spot the big trends in society, and also for people, for entrepreneurs and so on. We figured out that more than a third of younger people would like to be entrepreneurs, but pretty much no one has got any idea at all how to do it. And there's just a lucky few who actually use some of the time online to figure out about the entrepreneurship. It's all out there for free. Content and relevant stuff are there everywhere. But the will and the skill are two different things. And I'm helping my 2 sons to help others. I think that's the best way to learn, if you should teach other people. So we've done a few trainings in London, where they've been helping other entrepreneurs. They've also been to like entrepreneurial incubators to learn from people that I've learned from. And it's really cool to see that, because they haven't been destroyed yet by society. When you and me were young, we could both sing, dance, and draw. Right now, today, we might say, no, I can't sing, or I can't dance, or whatever. But we could when we were young.
Hmm.
before we decided we can't,
Right.
and that's a shame. So it was fantastic to see their interaction with older people, and the age in the room was from like 13 to like early 60s, and then it was the two of them, and they were at the time just into 12-ish years,
Wow.
and they could still pick up all the content and can really add because they were curious and not afraid, not really holding back. So I found it very refreshing, and we can see how young people find their way on social media and other ways today, and I find that very interesting. And the world as we know it, all the so-called jobs that are out there and that were out there, many of them are changing to everything from robots to artificial intelligence to platforms, and we think things are changing so fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's for somebody, I'm 46, so it's, I'm finding it's a little more difficult to keep up with it, and that may
Yeah,
be because I'm slowing down, and it may be because it's all speeding up.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but it does seem like what works today doesn't necessarily work tomorrow, and at
True.
least living in the online space. And so, one question I thought of as you were talking was, how do you vet that information? Because there is a ton of information on entrepreneurship online, and
Yeah.
we've got to be honest, not all of it's of the same quality and value.
I agree. I agree. So I also have a podcast called Invest in You,
Mm-hmm.
and just a few episodes ago, we had a guy from Germany. He is interviewing billionaires. He is an entrepreneur. He was living in Germany, and he thought like, who should I learn from? For like podcasts, YouTube. The content is everywhere. So he decided, okay, I'll just learn from the people who have really made it, and made it in his view was the people who basically not inherited money, but they actually found their own way. They've made it all the way to become net worth billionaires,
Nice.
not millionaires, but billionaires with a B. And he has, I think he's interviewed like 35 of them so far. It's really hard to just get one down and commit. Trust me, we've had a few people on the podcast. We've got one more coming up very soon. A guy who's from Ireland originally, who's lived in the States. And it's just hard to get one. And he's got like 35 of them to learn from and share with the world. So yeah.
That is amazing.
It's like a
I
life
have to wonder.
quest.
Yeah, I have to wonder what it takes, other than just sheer determination, to make that happen. Because you're right.
Yes.
To most of us, it would be inconceivable to even get to talk to one billionaire.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the statistics are completely crazy. If you think about it, there are around 2,000 billionaires, dollar billionaires in the world. And then you just do the maths. There's like one in every 4 million people is one of them. And then the maths are very skewed because you got a whole bunch of them living in New York, and another bunch living in London, and then a few more on the West Coast in the States, and then there's like another 800 in the world. So yeah, very strange.
Yeah, well, that's impressive.
Luckily, money isn't everything. Luckily,
well, that is true. That is true.
It enables you to help more people. I think it's noteworthy that many people who've actually made their journey to become what they are, they've pretty much figured out that, okay, now what? Okay, I'll just give it all away to people who need it, or do something great with it.
Oh, exactly. I mean, you can't drive 5 Rolls Royces at one time.
Exactly.
You can't. You can't eat. The 10 meals at the finest restaurant in London at one time. There's a limit to what you can consume and have it worth anything. Because sooner or later it becomes not. And I just say that, knowing that, that for some of us that's not our aim. I mean, I think we're in this living in the internet marketing space. I deal with a lot of coaches who think that everybody should want to be, a millionaire, be a billionaire, change the world, make the biggest impact. And it's just like, oh, I'm like, okay, let's find out what the people want, because like not everybody needs to be a billionaire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's this old story of I won't bore you with the whole story, but I've seen pop up in different shapes and forms where the MBA student is talking to the local fisherman about. Do you recognize what I'm talking about? Yeah. So basically, if they will build this massive corporation, they can have time off, so you can actually sit on the beach. Well, I'm already sitting on the beach without having to go into that hustle. That's a very
Absolutely.
short version of it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it evolves too as more and more people come into the entrepreneurship space.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's yeah, as you say, what was 50 years ago would have been unheard of. Now is a reality. I mean, I know in the States, I've seen some statistics pointing toward a third of adults being in some sort of freelancing or
Yes.
self-employment position.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I find it fascinating with the whole gig economy. Another aspect, not to own your home, but to actually rent instead, because you might move around so often, and I not
mm-hmm.
want to put down things, and also not finding love as important maybe as work for long duration. So maybe staying single for a long time, and the whole
Right.
thing changed society massively, especially in the West.
Very true. Very true. So, well, you know what? We have successfully completed the Lee After Dark 20-minute challenge. Yay, confetti and everything, right? So, cool.
That's cool.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm a man of my word, so I'm going to go ahead and give you 5 minutes to go talk about your business. If you've got an offer to share, if you want to tell people how to get a hold of you, floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, right. So, number one, I am in the business of helping others, which means really that I am in the business of helping others. It's not bullshit or anything. So I try to share stuff online. So you can find a lot of things if you just Google my name. You can find things on YouTube. You can find things on our podcast, Invest in You. So that's a good place where you can also tap into other people in my network. So just like you said, like who should you trust? Well, if you've got someone you trust and they are vetting other people for you, then you save a lot of time, really, just like you were doing with the podcast, Lee.
Right.
So that's one aspect. I also work with investments and how people can find different ways how to invest in businesses and real estate. But I'm not selling anything there. But if I can hint you something, one thing I find super valuable is trust. Without trust in business or relationship, there's nothing. And I recently wrote a book about that, so you can feel free to check it out on Amazon if you want. It's called Trust is New Currency. It's very useful for pretty much everyone who would like to be slightly more trusted, get a better team, or succeed better with the investment. So with that said, there's a lot more to say. I'm not here to sell anything really more than my message. Try to do things for a greater purpose than just yourself, and so many great things will come to you instead.
Very good. That's awesome. Hey, I'm starting to think, I say I give people a chance to pitch, and I mean it half in jest because like nobody ever really does. I mean, everybody talks about like, here's how you get in touch with me, here's what I do. But like I've never seen anybody just like, put on their sales hat and go full on marketer on people. So it's really, really cool that, to have people as yourself come on and just share, and I thank you for helping me turn this into what I never expected it to be, but it's really cool.
That's great. Perfect. That's good. No, I'm happy to help out. And also I find very interesting just to hear other people's perspective, and I hope to share some Swedishness and some Britishness to your audience, which I presume is slightly more American than my own. And that's all cool.
Yeah, I'm saying like, well, we're getting there, so we're starting out, so we'll have an international base here within the next week or so. I
don't know. No. Please tag me so I can just reshare what you're doing, so we cross fertilize with our followers.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Thank you for coming on and spending time with me and chatting. We are out of time. If you found Lee After Dark more entertaining and relevant than most of the dreck out there, give our host over at ipmnation.com some love, or subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, iTunes, and wherever the heck else we put this show. This is Lee Rowley with Fredrik Sandvall. Until next time, be present and be well.
Thank you very much.